For more than 40 years, he was a ghost. He broke into homes at night. He whispered to his victims. He vanished without a trace. Police had sketches. They had evidence. They even had his DNA, but they didn't have his name. From the mid-1970s to the 1980s, California lived in fear of a man who seemed untouchable. He was known by many names: the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker, and later, the Golden State Killer. This is the story of how one of America's most terrifying cold cases stayed frozen for decades, and how a single breakthrough finally exposed the man behind the mask. In 1976, Sacramento, California was growing fast. Quiet neighborhoods, young families, a sense of safety. That illusion shattered in June. A masked man broke into a home late at night. He tied up the male victim. Then he assaulted the woman. And then he disappeared. At first, police believed it was an isolated crime. But it wasn't. Over the next 2 years, more than 50 women were assaulted across Northern California. The attacker showed a disturbing level of planning. He studied neighborhoods. He entered homes through sliding doors or windows. He stacked dishes on victims' backs, warning that if they moved, the plates would fall and alert him. Victims reported hearing him whisper things like, "Don't move, or I'll kill you." He became known as the East Area Rapist. Fear spread quickly. People slept with lights on. Men stayed awake with baseball bats. But nothing stopped him. Then, something changed. In 1979, the attacks moved south and turned deadly. In Goleta, California, a young couple named Brian and Katie Majori were walking their dog when they encountered a suspicious man. Moments later, both were shot and killed. This marked a horrifying shift. Between 1979 and 1986, at least 13 murders were linked to the same offender. Couples were attacked in their homes. Men were beaten or restrained. Women were assaulted and murdered. The killer showed patience. He stayed in homes for hours. He knew police response times. Despite massive investigations, he always escaped. By the late 1980s, the attack stopped. No arrest, no identity. The case went cold. For decades, the Golden State Killer was little more than a name in dusty files. Detectives retired. Witness memories faded. Evidence sat untouched. But one thing remained: DNA. Crime scene DNA had been collected, but in the 1980s, technology wasn't advanced enough to identify a suspect. Still, investigators never gave up completely. In the early 2000s, DNA confirmed that the East Area Rapist and the original Night Stalker were the same person. One man, one long trail of terror. But they still didn't know who he was, until someone had a radical idea. In 2017, investigators tried something never done before in a criminal case. They uploaded the killer's DNA to a public genealogy website, the kind people use to find distant relatives. The DNA didn't match the killer, but it matched his family. Investigators built a massive family tree. Hundreds of names, decades of records. Slowly, one man stood out. Joseph James DeAngelo, a former police officer, a husband, a father, a grandfather. He lived quietly in Citrus Heights, California, right near many of the original attacks. Police watched him. They collected discarded items: trash, a tissue, a car door handle. The DNA matched. After more than 40 years, they had their man. On April 24, 2018, police arrested Joseph James DeAngelo outside his home. He was 72 years old. As officers took him into custody, witnesses heard him say, "I have a roast in the oven." The man who once terrified an entire state now looked ordinary, fragile, almost invisible, but the evidence was overwhelming. In 2020, DeAngelo pleaded guilty to 13 murders and dozens of sexual assaults, sparing survivors a long trial. In court, victims spoke directly to him. Some cried, some raged, some simply stared. Justice had come, late but real. The Golden State Killer case changed criminal investigations forever. It proved that cold cases are never truly dead. It showed the power of DNA and technology. And it reminded the world that time does not erase truth. For survivors, the scars remain. For families, Answers came too late. But one thing is clear. A man who hid for 40 years could not hide forever, because some crimes wait patiently, and eventually they speak. This has been Truth Trove Stories. If you believe forgotten cases deserve justice, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story, because some mysteries don't disappear. They wait.